All right, guys. So what we're going to be looking at is Rory McIlroy's backswing. Okay. So we're going to start by looking at his setup position, and then we're going to go along and have a look at his swing path and the rest that makes up his golf swing. Okay, so we're going to have a look here. So I can see here that he has a very straight spine angle from the base of his spine up to his head position. Okay, so this looks really, really good here. So if we have a look at his alignment, okay, we're not really sure of where he's trying to line up here, but if I draw a line along his toe line, I can pretty much see that he's aiming, kind of down the middle of the fairway, okay? So his lining up looks quite good here. All right. Now, he does have his hands quite a long way away from his body. I would typically have it within like a handspan, but he does actually have his hands quite a long way away here. So absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as the distance stays very much the same from the setup position right up until impact. The only thing that happens when the arms and the hands get a little bit too far away is that we might get a bit disconnected. But Rory doesn't do that. He keeps himself pretty connected all the way. But we're going to have a look anyway. All right, so let's have a look. So I'm going to take the club back. Okay, so that's interesting. So he starts with his hands, okay, a certain distance. All right, so now he's going to take the club back. He pushes the distance away from his body. Okay, so the hands tend to push away from the body first. This is what you'll often see with someone who draws the ball. Okay, so they're pushing their arms away from the body. All right, so we're getting to here. Okay, so now at his first position of his golf swing, and first position I'd like to define as when the club reaches parallel to the ground. So when the club reaches parallel to the ground, what we want to see is that the club and the hands forming a straight line relatively. Okay, so if we have a look at here, the club head is here and the hands are here. So Rory has the club head just in front of his hands. Okay, and you see that this is a very common first position for any elite players, that they're all trying to look to get the club head either in line with their hands or even slightly forward. You never really see a top player these days have the club head behind their hands. There are exceptions, obviously. John Daly, he takes the club a little bit inside. And Nicholas Colsaerts, every now and then I've seen him get the club head a little bit on the inside. But it's very, very common to have the club head kind of slightly in front or in line. Okay, so he has the club head slightly in front. The club face angle at this point, if I just draw a line along the club face there, this angle here should basically match the spine angle. Okay, this is what we kind of call square. I would say that his face is probably just a little bit shut at this position, but still very, very common position. Still a very good position here. Okay, so as we can see here, as we said before, the club head is slightly in front of the hands. Now, there's just a little bit of hip turn here, okay, at this position. So he just has a little bit of hip turn at this point. So really what we're looking for is about a 45-degree hip turn to the top of your backswing, okay? So that's what they're trying to aim for. So there's not a lot of hip turn at this point. All right, so now he's going to get to the top of his swing. All right, so now the shaft is kind of breaking through his right shoulder, just there. So getting to the top. All right. Okay, so basically at the top of his swing, you can see here that the shaft is kind of quite flat here. So his hands are quite a long way from his neckline. So the shaft is at kind of more of a flatter position. So we saw the club head being slightly in front of the hands at the first position. And now he's brought the club a little bit more around the body at the top of his swing. Okay, so the club head looks relatively square at the top. Okay, so the angle of his club head should match the angle of his left arm here. So it's relatively in line there. All right, so now I'm just going to draw a line down from the button of the club down to the ball. Okay, so we're going to start swinging this club down. And see Roy here actually, he does overswing a little bit there. Nothing wrong with that. So now what you'll see here is that now he's going to bring that shaft underneath that white line, okay? So this is when when he's coming down from the inside. So when you're coming through, you ideally want to be underneath the line between your butt end of the club and to the ball. So when I'm actually analysing people's swings, particularly if they're coming in for a slice issue, this movement here, you'll often see that the shaft will actually get above the white line. So this here, we can see here that he's actually going underneath it. Okay. All right. So as he's coming back down, we can see he's going underneath that white line now, which is great. Then we're going to come down a little bit further. Okay. So we can see that the shaft here is just above his right elbow in this position. So just above his right elbow. And as he comes back down through here, club face looks pretty square at this point. There. Now we keep unwinding. All right, so Rory's coming from the inside of the ball here, meaning that the club head never gets on the outside of the ball. So it never gets on this side of the ball. It's always from the inside of the ball, okay? Now, as he swings through, he's going to hit it. All right. So the ball has started a little bit right of where he was actually aiming up. So this is because Rory is a bit of a drawer, okay? And you can see that ball actually in flight. That's starting right, and now it's trying to draw back to the left. Okay, so his path is probably on an out path. We call it into out path of probably 3 degrees or so. I actually don't know the specifics of it, but I would imagine that's probably on an out path. Now, he does draw the ball. So someone who draws the ball, like I said before, typically will push their arms out a little bit like he is, and the club head is on the outside of his hands here. And then when that usually happens, you'll see that on the downswing, most of the time people will start to flatten off their swing path, being in that position. It's kind of like a reaction, okay? Then as he comes back down, he's going to flatten it out now. And then as he comes through, he's coming through on his right, just above his right elbow, through here. He's a little bit flat, comes from inside the ball starts right and draws back around. All right, so the other thing to really keep in mind as well is that we can see here just the base of his spine. Now, this is a really common thing for really good elite players is if I draw a line down just beside his glutes there. Now, let's have a look to see if Rory keeps his glutes on that line right up until impact. Okay, so here he comes through. Okay, yeah, he's still on that line there. So basically he's rotating through it. He's still on that white line. There, okay. So you can see here that at the start of Rory's setup position, his spine was very straight. Now it's a little bit curved. It's very common. This is what happens through a dynamic golf swing, okay? But the biggest thing to note is that his glutes or his base of his spine has stayed on that white line. So you'll see that really elite players, they're trying to really get their glutes back, their rear back when they hit the ball, okay? All right. And you can see here also that Rory does keep his right foot down, keeps his right foot down as he comes through. Still on the ground there, wow, okay. So he keeps his right foot on the ground. Looks like he might just be lifting his heel just a little bit there, and then he rolls through. So that's pretty incredible there that he actually keeps his right foot down on the ground like that for so long. And then he rolls through it. Okay. So he's very, very stable with his lower half. So, hitting the ball at such big distances, this would be a huge key for him to staying so stable and hitting the ball so well, is that his lower half obviously is very, very strong. All right. All right, guys, so that concludes another analysis of a Tour Pro. Here we got Rory McIlroy. He stands a bit further away and hits those draws. He pushes his arms out, then brings the club back down the inside on the downswing. All right, guys, tune in next time. We'll start deciphering some other